if you know anyone that's had ulcerative colitis or rheumatoid arthritis or multiple sclerosis, those are all diseases caused by an overactive immune system. So even though more immunity sounds like a great thing, you can actually die of too much immune activity as well. So at this point, I would not recommend doing all of them together. I would recommend starting with the chemotherapy.
Okay. So with chemotherapy, I mean, that's the last time that we talked, the regimen was only twice a week?
No, it was 2 rounds of chemotherapy, you were saying last
2
time.
rounds of chemotherapy and then take another picture to see where we are.
Okay.
So the chemotherapy is given once every 3 weeks.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, so 1 day every 3 weeks. So if we started, I used to have a calendar here, they took it away.
1 day every 3 weeks?
Yeah, 1 day every 3 weeks.
For how long?
So the IV infusion, well, this IV infusion is actually about 7 hours. So it's a full day here.
Yeah.
So basically, on the day of chemotherapy, you'd come in the morning and have blood work drawn, you'd start some IV fluids, you'd get chemotherapy, and basically plan on a whole day here. But that's once every 3 weeks, we would do it twice. So if you started it, say, a week from Monday, you'd get your first one a week from now. Your second one would be 4 weeks from now. And then 3 weeks after that, we'd get a scan to see how well it's working. And then that would be a decision point about whether to do more chemotherapy at that point or whether to add radiation in there.
So the way the chemotherapy, I mean, you just flood it. We flood my system with that, and then you're hoping that the tumors themselves are going to take up that chemo.
Not exactly. Where are you getting this
I'm
information?
just
Okay. Okay. So what these 2 drugs do, first of all, chemotherapy just means any chemical used to treat cancer. So whatever you've read on chemotherapy online may not be correct for the type of chemotherapy that you are getting. So the type of drugs that you're getting, or that I would recommend for you to get, basically interfere with cells dividing. Most of the cells in your body are not dividing. Most of the cells in the adult body are not making new cells. Cells in a kid body, on the other hand, making new cells all the time. The cancer cells are making new cells all the time. So these basically preferentially go to the cells that are growing quickly. That's your cancer cells. So they interfere with the processes of making new DNA. That's mainly what one of them does. And the other one interferes with the process of cells separating into 2 different cells.
So there's two chemo. Okay.
Cisplatin is one, docetaxel is another.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, can I get information on those again to review that?
Yes.
And
so you said you potentially want to do a biopsy on his liver to find out whether or not it's metastatic.
Yeah, we're gonna set that up as soon as possible.
Okay.
I'm hoping that's within the next week or so.
Okay.
Is that like? I mean, they just stick a needle or?
Yeah, normally they do it. It's a doctor called an interventional radiologist that would do the procedure. And they do it in a couple different ways. Sometimes they do what's called an ultrasound-guided biopsy. Sometimes they do what's called a CT-guided biopsy. I leave it up to them to determine what's the safest and most effective way to do the biopsy. But they'll go over, depending on their approach to it, whether they go in through this direction or this direction. The side effects might be a little bit different, but in general, these are very safe procedures, and before they stick any needles in anywhere, they'll go over it with you. Normally it's under local anesthetic, so numbing medications. You're awake, you're breathing on your own the whole time. Sometimes they give you some medicine to help you relax, so it's good to have someone to give you a ride home, because you don't want to be driving after these medications. They make you a little drunk.
Okay. Well, that's important to get.
And so you said you want to get that before you decide on chemo radiation.
Yeah. Okay. So what we'll do is basically, while we're setting that up, we'll also work on setting up a chemotherapy appointment. If for whatever reason that's not needed, it's easy to cancel at last minute. It's hard to set it up last minute.
Okay.
So we'll maybe tentatively plan for the chemotherapy to start in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, if that's okay with you.
Okay. How quickly we get the biopsy?
I'm hoping within a week.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that all sounds pretty sensible.
And so, depending on what the liver says, why would we not do the chemo?
I think regardless of what the liver says, we'll probably start with the chemo.
Okay.
I do want you to see a radiation doctor as well. I know we worked on setting that up back in August, but with all the insurance hassles, I don't think it's been scheduled yet. Is that correct? Okay. So I'll work on getting that set up.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit more about how you're feeling. How's your pain doing right now?
I'm not having any pain.
Okay. Are you taking any medications?
I was taking, I just started on Thursday with an antibiotic to try and clear up the sinus congestion.
Well, he's not having any pain right now, but there are days when he has acute pain,
Yeah, that's
and in his head and face.
But so to in my mind, that's an effect of the congestion. But I don't know.
It's tough to say what's the congestion and what's the cancer, but either way, I want to know about it. So
Yeah.
these days of acute pain, when can you predict what makes them come up, or?
Well, the like all of last week was miserable. I couldn't breathe, and so that was causing sleeplessness. So I was low on sleep, and then I couldn't eat. So I was low on food. It was discouraging emotionally, and then on occasion I would have like headache or pressure. It was like sinus pressure pain, that type of headache. So I used naproxen on occasion, and then when I finally had a number of days of yellow discharge, I'm like, well, this must be an infection, so let's get an antibiotic.
Did you
Try
prescribe that antibiotic, and which antibiotic was it?
Dr. Petros.
Okay.
And she gave, I thought it was this one. I was surprised to see it on your records.
I don't remember it.
Where is it? It was on the intake form.
That's okay, I'll track it down. Are you done with it now?
I've got 2 or 3 more.
Okay.
I think 3 more.
Okay. Have you been having any nosebleeds at all?
No.
Okay.
On occasion, I'll have, like, I've been trying different nose sprays. Before I started the antibiotic, I was trying nose sprays to just flush. And on occasion, I'd get some red discharge. But I thought it was just because I was irritating it so much with all I was trying to do.
I would avoid using Afrin. If you're going to
Not
use
using
nasal
Afrin.
sprays, I would stick with kind of a saline nasal
That's
spray.
what I've been using, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
I was trying some Sudafed to try and dry things up.
Yeah.
On occasion that was helping, but that's just like symptom control.
Okay. And when you were using the naproxen, about how often were you using that?
Once
a day, twice a day?
Maybe twice a day.
Any other symptoms you've been noticing? Anything kind of below the neck area? Okay. Do you feel like these have been growing or staying about the same size since we last talked?
These have been changing they have not been growing.
Okay.
It seems that they've gotten more definition,
Okay.
like a bit firmer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they tender when you touch them at all?
No,
Okay.
these are okay. On occasion, it feels like I'm feeling pressure in my neck,
Yeah.
or like it's like impinging on my neck movement. But no, they seem pretty inert to me as far as any other type of effect.
Good. Any trouble with your bowels, like diarrhea, constipation?
No.
Okay. How often is the nausea happening that you mentioned?
It really peaked last week. Yeah, that's why in my mind, it was just clearly contributed to the congestion. Because when the congestion went away on Saturday, I had a great day, like totally no issues.
Okay.
I ate like crazy.
Okay. Any numbness or tingling in your hands or feet at all?
No.
Okay. Any hearing issues that you've noticed?
Yeah, hearing, but that thought that was sinus pressure.
Well, let's. I
Sure,
just
yeah.
want to know
Yeah,
about
yeah,
what
yeah,
symptoms
yeah,
you're
that's fine,
having.
that's fine.
I know you're eager to
Yeah.
explain it, and I am too, but I definitely want to hear what
Totally
symptoms you're
makes- yeah.
having before we go into the explanation. Is it both ears about equal, or is it one ear more than the other?
A little more on the right side, the left. But right now, it's about equal.
Okay. Do you hear any like ringing in your ears, or does it sound like you're underwater? Do you feel like that,
No.
kind of clogged up ears? Okay.
I mean, as opposed to what?
So sometimes people describe it as just feeling, like I said, feeling like they're underwater, that everything sounds kind of garbled or distorted. Other people say that they can't hear because there's background noise, that it's
Oh.
ringing all the time.
It's not that.
Okay. How would you describe the hearing issues?
Just plugged up.
Plugged up?
Yeah, muffled,
Yeah,
muted.
muffled. Okay. Okay. And how's your appetite been?
Aside from Low. It's been low and declining. Yeah.
What's right there?
Okay. What other questions do you have for me right now? What else haven't I asked that I should know about?
I'm still surprised that like food is a non-issue. Like I'm just that kind of boggles my mind that there's no beneficial effect to adjusting my diet. Which I mean I have changed. I'm eating well. I'm eating healthy, but.
So it ends up the human body is really good at getting nutrients out of food. Our evolution as a species depended on us being able to get the nutrients we needed out of whatever was available. So all the studies that have been done with supplements and things like that, none of them seem to be very helpful. Some of them seem to be very harmful. Like for example, we know taking extra beta carotene can predispose people to dying of lung cancer and things like that. So I wish that there was a simple answer to cancer, like eat some broccoli. There's not.
Yeah. I'm not expecting it to be an simple answer, but just surprising to me that like across the board, it's like there's nothing to consider. It's weird to me.
I wish there was. I mean, believe me, if there were a diet that cured cancer, I think all of us would be all for it. I mean, we don't like watching people struggle with cancer.
Yeah. So that's typical. But sometimes there'll be yellow discharge. I mean, we're still in it for information, then. Trying to get information. Anything else?
So we'll set up those appointments and sounds like we want to move towards the chemo ASAP. And
It really would be what I'd recommend for a
Yeah.
family member, I promise you that.
Yeah.
And I like my family. so.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seems sensible. And I'll read about side effects and all that.
Yeah, we'll give you some printouts today, and then once we get the biopsy, once we're ready to start, we'll also bring you back and we'll go have a long discussion. We'll give you the opportunity to meet with one of our pharmacists, and we'll go over a lot more about the
Did you get a chance to look at my brother's hospital records? Because he had a similar case, and the one in his liver is what ended up taking him. Like my understanding is that it went into remission for 18 months, and then.
I didn't receive any records on your brother.
Oh, so I have paper copies,
Okay.
and I can give them. I don't know if that's of value.
Yeah, I can look at them.
Yeah.
We know nasopharyngeal cancer does not necessarily seem to run in families. Hard for me to say what your brother had. We do know that some families seem more prone to getting cancer than others, but we don't really have, with the exception of a few very clear-cut cases like hereditary breast cancer, there's not really one gene to test for.
for nasopharyngeal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because that BRCA is something
Yeah,
different.
Something different.
Got it.
So yeah, there's clearly some families that are more likely to get cancer than other families. And then there are a few cases like the BRCA or hereditary breast cancer, there's some hereditary colon cancers. There are some very clear cut cases of, things that are passed down in families. Most it's not so clear.
Interesting.
Sweetie, come on. Come here.
Okay, well.
Okay. I'd like to look inside your mouth and press on your neck a little bit if you don't mind.
Okay.
You can stay right where you are, you don't have to hop up on the table. I apologize for the cold.
Focus.